Hi everybody, it's Franco here from Fresh Air Carpet Cleaning again. We're going to have a little episode this week and we're going to be talking about your rugs and whether they're actually made with paper, because there seems to be a bit of a trend towards it. So we might have a little bit of a discussion so that you don't get trapped into buying something you don't realise you're buying. Hi everybody, it's Franco here from Fresh Air Carpet Cleaning. We're back here again with Michael. We're going to have another little fun session talking about some carpets and rugs that might be of interest to some people.
Oh, Franco, when you were saying that, and you were saying that the people are buying paper for their flooring, I thought,
Well,
really?
in true sense, it's not actually paper, but it's a very similar type of product.
Right.
And what we're talking about is it's a fibre that is made from essentially wood waste or cotton pulp waste, and it's basically what I call the paper mache of the fibre world. It gives a really lustrous fibre. It feels beautiful. It's got everything going for it until you try to clean it.
Until you try to clean it. Is these the fibres that you hear, and they give them those really luxurious names, like they call them silks of this, like
Yes.
bamboo silks and this
That's
silk
right.
and art silk, and
Yep.
you think, oh, this must be expensive.
Yes, yeah, and look, the thing is that they look fantastic. They look absolutely wondrous, and they feel so soft. Okay, but when you've got these things, it's rayon or viscose or art silk, faux silk. They're the most common ones, but you also get Tensil's another one that it comes out with as well. Banana silk is another one that comes
Banana
out.
silk.
Yeah. Look, there's all sorts of bits and pieces, and I mean they're all basically a cellulose or a plant-based waste product that is broken down and spun through into this wonderful fibre that people fall in love with.
Oh, goodness. So, before we get better to tell what you're actually buying, what are some of the inherent problems? You said at the beginning about cleaning. What are some of the inherent problems about these?
Okay, well,
fibres?
the biggest problem with them is that they just don't like getting wet. Okay, so that makes a huge issue. So even for people in their own home, you've got kids or you have a party or even just general day to day, you spill something on the carpet, it becomes a major issue. If you've got a pet that does something to it, it's a huge issue. The problem is that because it's a reconstituted cellulose, so it's still a plant-based product, if you want to put it that way, but it's gone through an artificial process. But because all the physical structure of that cellulosic material has been pulled apart and then it's basically just held together, it loses 76% of its strength when it's wet. So it becomes pretty much like mush. Okay, it's not quite that bad, I guess, but it still is an issue. But the other thing is as well, like if anybody's ever had a cotton shirt or something that's been sitting there quite wet for quite some time, you see that brownish discoloration that comes on.
Right.
That's called cellulosic browning. It has a natural lignin dye that is in there, which is released and becomes very mobile when it's wet. So you tip that little bit of the kid's bottle of water that gets onto the carpet, and you end up with this brown patch. And guess what? It doesn't clean out.
Wow.
If you're lucky enough to be able to put it through a process where you can treat the browning, then you might be able to do something that's not something you'd be able to do yourself, and even at my level it can be quite difficult.
You've mentioned one of these instances on the show before.
Yes.
I think was this that browning where you had to get on your hands and knees and
That's the one. Yeah. And that person had a custom made carpet. So it was a bespoke carpet. It looked absolutely wonderful.
I'm going to ask you something there. Custom made carpet. What is it? So they ring up and say, "This is how we want our carpet made."
Yeah, you phone up a producer of carpet. In this case, they had a fantastic woven carpet, very heavy duty, and is extremely expensive to make. But to make it give that sheen that silk has, and that softness that silk has. Instead of putting silk in, which would have made it even more horrendously expensive, they put rayon in it. Yeah.
Now, do they market these carpets as green carpets because they're using these?
No, that's a different one again.
That's a different one.
They're a full synthetic. They're drugs,
Right.
which are a development of polyester carpet. So these ones, no, they're not eco carpet.
Okay.
And in fact, what I just found out myself last week, and I was doing a bit of research for another problem that we had. In America or the United States, they've stopped or banned producing it because it is so toxic in the actual production stakes. So these days, it's coming out of India, Pakistan, places that like that. So it's not the eco-friendly fibre by any way, shape or form.
Because I think here in West Australia, we've actually got a paper mill, APM paper mills, I think it is. And I know the guys say it's quite toxic when they're recycling the paper.
Yep.
But again, they've got to break down the fibres.
That's right.
And it was interesting talking to them. They said you can only break down paper fibre so many times before you can't recycle paper anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that the same as this carpet? They've broken it down so much to actually make it into fibre, they've kind of destroyed all its properties.
Well, essentially, yeah. So, I mean, because of the fact that it's just been bound together and quite loosely, and it's just water. It does not like water in any way.
Wow.
And that's where the real challenge now comes in when you have some sort of issue. Like I had one of the retailers who had sold a lady this lovely rug, and they'd had a protection done on it, and that was all well and good. Dropped a glass of red wine. Now the protector worked fantastically on the wool component of the carpet because there's a wool and rayon mix.
Right.
But the cellulosic component just went, I have a protector on me, I don't care, I'm just going to soak it up anyway. So of course they had this beautiful wine stain on a protected fibre essentially. So it was my challenge then to sort
Your
this
challenge
out.
should you choose to accept it.
Yes,
Mr. Franco.
and this carpet will self-destruct. Yeah. So that was the issue that I had there. That's why I thought I'm going to start doing a bit more research into it because there was another thing else that came up from another quote that I was putting forward, it's really about the protection side of things. So I've delved in a little bit further and found out there is another product which is specific for this type of fibre. Which creates a huge amount of repellency so that it doesn't absorb moisture, and that's the sort of stuff that we're starting to go down towards. Right. But if you don't have that on there and you drop something on a wool viscose blend, you're going to have some rather tragic consequences.
When you look at the complexities of this, and sometimes maybe I'm naive, but I look at that and go, if I was a carpet manufacturer, really would I want those problems in my carpet?
Look, the problem is that a lot of times people want a certain look. They're trying to achieve a certain look, and the problem is that they don't consider the maintenance side of it. It's how it looks when it gets sold.
Yeah.
I remember having an argument once with an interior decorator a few years back, and it was I actually said to them, look, why is it that you use these products that are just non-maintainable? You cannot do anything to them. They said, well, that's not our problem. We just make it look pretty. I said, but you've made it an untenable product, or a situation. Well, that's not our problem. We just have to make it look pretty. That's our job. And I thought, well, that was really crazy, but unfortunately, that's how things work. So when it comes to these fibres, they are buying a look. Now, you buy that look and it's great today, but a couple of years down the track, they're not looking so great because the other thing they don't like is they don't like exposure to UV light. They go yellow, and so all that wonderful colour that you had when you originally bought it, it's not there anymore.
Wow.
So that there's a problem with that. You'll get a lot of sprouts out of it as well. So you'll see these rugs, and by the time you've had a couple of weeks, all little fibres start sprouting up out of it. And if you've got those sprouts, you've pretty much got a wool viscose blend or a viscose rug. And there's nothing you can do to stop that because you go to an aggressive vacuum cleaner and you just start pulling them out left, right and centre. They do not stand up to trafficking that well as a result. So they have just a lot of inherent problems. And if you put water on them, they'll go brown. If you get urine in them, they go this beautiful yellow. But there are things we can do to combat that in a professional sense.
Yeah.
But to do it in a household application for a person trying to look after their own rug, it doesn't work.
So if you're an average person going to buy a carpet now, and the carpet salesman is saying, look, it's a wool viscose blend, or it's got it's bamboo silk, or one of these lovely silks, would you be going maybe not?
If you understand that there's going to be issues with them, then fair enough. But as far as longevity goes for them, there are going to be issues with those carpets. And look, as I said, they look fantastic while they're new. They can be rejuvenated, but you've got to make sure that you're prepared to wear the cost of that further down the track, because they're not going to be something that's going to be easy to take care of, even for someone who's a professional in the industry.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at that, and part of my question is, even when you look at legality things are meant to be fit for purpose, not just look pretty. It's like buying a fridge. Looks pretty, but guess what? It won't keep your food cold. Then it's not. It's not fit for purpose. You can't have it. You can't sell it.
Well, you can't say that they're not so much not fit for purpose, because they'll do exactly what they're supposed to do. They'll get on the floor and they'll look pretty.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the maintenance side of things, I think they need to be having a little bit more clarity on that, and say, look, there is that little tenant there that maybe they might be a little bit more difficult to deal with in the long term.
And how do they go? So say you go, look, I'm happy with that. I love my beautiful soft carpet, and I'm happy to have them maintained by a professional like yourself and keep them up to speed where they're meant to be. What's their wear factor in life longevity then? Can they last just as long as a normal carpet, or?
No, they're not going to last quite as long as the carpet, because they're reasonably strong when they're dry, but just don't get them wet, and so that creates a real issue when you're trying to clean these.
You
things.
live by the beach.
That would probably not be the best place to have it.
Don't put it in your bathroom.
They go dunk it in the bath and try to wash it out, because
it'll be bald.
Yeah, well, not necessarily bald, but it will have some interesting consequences.
So wear and tear, and we do know that if things are softer and more luxurious, they don't have the same wear. But if you do maintain them properly, can you get a reasonable life expectancy in your professional opinion?
It depends what you call a reasonable life expectancy. Now, a lot of times you're going to be spending $2,000 plus. I've sent them up to $30,000 for a rug. So it really depends what situation they get put into and how they're going to be used. I had one that I did come across last year that had been brought out from the US by she was from the US herself. The rug was about 5 years old, and she dropped wine on it a couple of times. So I was there a couple of times, but it was right in a window as well.
Yeah.
So it was really suffering from the UV. So I just suggested that we flip it around the other way to even it out a little bit.
Yeah.
She loved the rug, loved the look of it, understood there was a problem with it, but she understood there was a problem with it, and she was willing to keep it because she liked the look of the rug.
Yes.
So as long as we kept the maintenance up to it, I managed to deal with the wine stays reasonably effectively, to the point where they were happy with it.
Yeah.
It was never going to be perfect.
Right.
And that's the thing you've also got to understand, that once they do start having these issues, they're never going to go back to 100%. There's always going to be some form of consequence with it.
Yeah. Now, you're just saying that they love soaking up different colours and so forth. Does this make you do your recolouring?
Yes.
Different than just, and you can change colours. You can make, as long as they go darker, not lighter, of course.
Yeah.
But do these carpets then lend themselves to being recoloured in what you do?
To a degree.
Right.
Yeah. It can be quite hard to fix the colours in them.
Right.
So they're problematic in that area as well. So
because I've seen the work you've done on a rug.
Yeah.
And it was in terrible state. And by the time you finish, you might have thought, well, that just came out of the shop.
Yeah.
You'd recoloured it, and you recoloured in little pieces. You didn't have to do a whole blanket colour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that one there was 100% wool.
Right.
Okay. So that was extremely easy to deal with. Wool dyes up really nicely, then it holds it really nicely. So wools and nylons, look, they're fantastic.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, as far as that goes. But when you come to the natural synthetic, the natural cellulosic fibres,
Yep.
they're a little bit more difficult to contend with. Not impossible, but they are more difficult to contend with, and you cannot guarantee full colour stability over time.
Is this because the fibre in those like pulps that have been made into fibre, it's just the fibre structure's too weak?
They are very weak.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the reasons why you do have those issues with them, and if you do treat them incorrectly, that wonderful lustrous and softness that they have goes out the window.
So, obviously they've been made for a purpose, some purpose. Where would you see them being best suited?
Best suited if you've got a very low traffic area which doesn't have a lot of UV light that's hitting on it, then that's fine. Look, I wouldn't put it into a dining room for instance. Just that would be
It's like a cup of tea.
that's an accident waiting to happen. Yeah, you're going to have food spills. If you've got kids, they're probably not the ideal sort of company either, because kids tend to, run around and spill
So
things.
even the
drop
Mr.
things.
Pro Heart advert where he cleans all the food off, it isn't going to work on this one.
No. But the thing is, as I said, there is a product now available.
Right.
And if we put that product on there, it sort of more or less solves the UV stability issue.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because it does have a lot of repellency against UV light. It's also highly repellent to water and oils. So instead of being, with normal protectors, you put it on there and it beads up, and then after a while it sinks in. This stays on there and stays on there, so you can actually get on there and wipe it all off before it becomes an issue. So with a viscose, this product is just out of this world. I've only just found out about it fairly recently.
I was going to say, that's a fairly new find for you.
It is, yes.
Because you actually research, don't you? You one thing I do like about you, you're constantly you find an issue and then you research a solution.
Yes, yeah, I'm a bit bad like that. Google is my friend in that case.
Yeah.
Look, there's always something out there that's coming up and you need to keep ahead of, because for that sort of stuff in particular, in the wool viscose blends, they can be extremely problematic, and especially in the commercial sense. A lot of them are being put in the commercial buildings as well, so they get exposed to all sorts of nasties. So now that we've got this product, we can almost proof it.
Right.
Okay, it's never going to be completely...
nothing's ever 100%.
Nothing's 100%, but this stuff is just remarkably good at doing what it's supposed to do to protect that fibre. As I said, that other rug that I did for one of the retailers just close by here, that had a problem, had a protector on it, but it just did not protect the viscose content.
So if someone's getting new carpet and it is one of these blends, you would recommend have it laid and then get this on before?
Yeah. Normally you only find it in rugs.
Oh, okay.
But there has been some that have been put out there in the marketplace as a wall-to-wall carpet. And I don't think I'd be very happy to have that in my place. They do look great, and because they have a wool as well, they do wear quite well, but they still have those inherent issues.
So definitely, you would say that if they tried selling that as a wall-to-wall carpet, then that is probably going to be a perhaps not.
Probably buying a problem.
Yeah, you better stay away. But in a rug, they are.
And look, a lot of times rugs get replaced because of the fact that you get bored with it, or it's just you want to change the look of your house, and there's no longer the right colours, whatever the case may be. So, quite often they do get changed out. And let's face it, if you're buying one of those rugs, you're reasonably well heeled.
I was going to say, because we've got this product that's got a few problems with it. It needs a special coating on it, and I'm going, is this the kind of thing we find in the cheap shop?
Yeah, no, it won't be the cheap type stuff. It's not a look. I actually did a super yacht a couple of years back.
Oh,
and it had a problem with the master bedroom had red dye stains on it, which I had to go and get out. And then they said to me, "Oh, by the way, it's bamboo silk." Okay, so this will be interesting. And then they in the 4 staterooms downstairs, they had 100% silk, pure silk. Which could not get wet. They'd already had to clean once and had to replace the whole lot. So my challenge was to get the red stains out and to clean the carpets. So I devised a system that where we could do that and do it safely, got the job done, and all was happy. But we're talking about extraordinary amounts of money in that regard there. So,
did you get a free ride on the yacht?
No.
It
was in harbour, but having a bit of a refit done. So But no, I haven't got $70,000 a week to spend on a super yacht. I wish I did.
I thought after getting red stain out, you would have been invited.
Not quite.
My goodness. So they put in pure silk has got the same inherent problems?
No, but it once again, it's not the sort of carpet that you really want to get wet or put heat onto. So
what are they doing putting that on a boat? I mean, I'm going, it's a yacht, it's a boat, there's water, and you're putting this stuff in.
And it's right next to the ensuite bathroom. They're off the tiles onto the carpet. So, once again,
the designer.
It's like achieving a look, a feel.
Yeah.
They wanted that silky touch, and that's what they've put into it. Wow. But then, of course, when it comes to maintaining it, becomes a problem. So
Still, I guess if you can afford a super yacht, you can afford just to rip it out and put some new stuff down.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
To an extent, they didn't want to do that exercise again,
No.
obviously. But it is a case of if you're going to have that sort of thing in there, you're going to have a fair bit of available credits, shall we say?
Yeah. Now, one thing I suppose a lot of us that aren't skilled in knowledge, and how do we find out what the carpet is? Because many times you walk in, they go, it's a polyester, or it's a nylon, or it's a whatever. But
look, with the rug, generally speaking, if you look on one of the corners on the back, there'll be a label on there, and it will tell you what fibres it is.
Right.
Okay? But if you see anything other than wool, nylon, polypropylene, your basic fibres, polyester, acrylics, you start seeing some of these more exotic names.
Yes.
Sometimes they're just 100% polypropylene, but they'll be quite cheap.
Yeah.
So it's the more expensive range rugs, and you see some sort of odd names. Start your research before you go buy it, so to make sure that you're not buying yourself into an ongoing expense.
Franco, when you talk rugs, and I know they're very, very popular because they're absolutely beautiful in homes, is there a best fibre for a rug?
Is there a best fibre? Look, it really depends on the situation that you're going to have it in and what you're expecting out of it. I mean, for instance, I had a polypropylene woven rug. Okay, it was a machine made. I bought it probably around about 30 years ago, and it was indestructible. You know, it took everything we threw at it. And I had a couple of kids growing up, and I actually had it sitting out in the back room, which is like a sunroom coming off the carport, and there wasn't such a thing as white feet because it was just like it was there. But every time he cleaned it, it bounced back. It was just a fantastic rug. So, but that's a fairly cheap rug.
What happened? It just went out of fashion.
I got bored with it. It's just like,
30 years.
I can't destroy it. I'm just going to get rid of it.
You've been so good to me.
Yeah, so it was a case like it was time to go.
Yeah,
because I put something else in there altogether.
Yeah, Axminster, I believe.
Well, no, it was a hand tufted rug.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
What's a hand tufted rug? Well, you do it by hand.
Literally, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's a little bit different again. When it comes to whatever situation you're in, like that polypropylene rug, if you put it right next to a wood fire, it'll be the worst rug in the world. Right. Because all it needs is a slight bit of heat onto it, and you've got a melt mark because they melt at 150 degrees C.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, they're not going to be able to withstand a little bit of a coal dropping out onto it. You know, once again, a nylon will still burn. A wool, on the other hand, will drop on there. And if you get it off quick enough, it won't burn a hole through it. You can just give it a little bit of a rub, and nobody's any the wiser.
So, you know, a lot of the times when I've seen adverts, you know, obviously adverts are adverts, but they always promote wool as being the best. It's lovely. Get a wool rug. You won't go wrong with a wool rug.
If you get a woven wool rug that is well made, honestly, there's not much will beat them.
Really?
Yeah, they are a really nice rug. The polypropylenes are very durable, but they don't feel the same. They're going to have that bit of a harshness to them. They're going to be quite low pile, whereas the wools can get to be a bit more depth and warmth. And the colour variances in them. So it's a natural fibre. They just feel and look so much nicer.
Right. Now, I've heard, and I've had friends that have gone overseas, and they bought a rug when they were overseas. And you're saying it's got a label in the corner. This thing doesn't have a label anywhere. Right. And I forget which country they're in. Gorgeous looking rug, you know, in what they've got. But there's no label on it.
Okay, so that would have been a handmade rug?
Yes.
More than likely. Even so, normally when they're brought into the country for wholesale, they'll have something on them. But if they've bought that themselves direct from a person who's made the rug, there's every chance in the world there won't be anything on there. But it's more than likely going to be a wool.
It's more like because it's handmade. I can't
That's
remember.
right.
I think they were in India or something like that when they were getting it.
Yeah.
And they just fell in love with it.
Yeah. And look, a lot of people do that. It's the amount of times that I've gone to a house and the person said, I was travelling this country and I bought this. And I was travelling that country and I bought this one. I just love these rugs. They're moth-eaten, they're bare, there's nothing left of it. I can't get rid of it. I love it. It's got such a sentimental value to them as well.
So when you're overseas, because we're in WA, West Australia, and we do go overseas a lot. We love to travel, and people do.
Not just occasionally.
Yes. You know, not looking at anyone in particular, Franco. If your show's missing, it's because he's overseas. Anyway, when they go overseas, a lot of these things have got different standards. They're not labelled like. Is there a test they can do? Is there something they can find out if the person goes, oh, it's wool? They can just have a quick check and see whether it is or not.
Real easy test. If you can't get any fibres on it, we normally do fibre identification by giving it a little bit of a burn.
Oh,
If you burn wool, what's it going to smell like? Burning
wool.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you've got the burning hair smell, you've got wool or at least a high wool content.
Yeah.
If it just melts and it actually burns, then it'll be a synthetic of some description.
Yep.
That's if it melts and burns.
Okay.
But if it burns and you've just got a glowing ember, you'll have a plant-based fibre.
Oh.
And sometimes you'll get that mix. So if you've got a cellulose with a protein fibre, so wool with a cotton, or in this case a viscose blend,
Yeah.
you'll get that wool smell, but you'll get a burning ember through it. And it just keeps on glowing. And wool self-extinguishes. None of the other fibres do. Silk and wool will self-extinguish. They're a protein fibre, so you'll get it to burn, but then it'll just put itself out.
Yep.
And you get a nice crumbly ash that just dissolves away to nothing. Whereas all the other ones will leave something behind. All the synthetic ones will leave some sort of hard bee behind. Cotton won't leave it leaves a bit of a grey ash, but it's that burning ember that gives it away as a plant-based material. So your rayons are still a plant-based material technically, because they're just a reconstituted cellulose. So they will still leave that same little trail of evidence.
So if you're going to buy a rug overseas, just take a little cigarette lighter with you.
Yep, cigarette lighter, absolutely.
Ask him for a
Pair of tweezers and
take a sample.
Yep.
And give it a test and see what happens to it.
Yep. And the only thing with that is that quite often you have to test each different colour, because they might be different fibres blended together, and sometimes the colours could be they could be actually different fibres altogether.
So they've got the mix of fibre, because they've bought, well, here's my reds, here's my blues, because they're quite colourful, some of these colours.
So for instance, in a commercial application, quite often we have wool and nylon mixed together. So the polypropylene and nylon are mixed together, two synthetics. Polypropylene is one colour, the nylon is a different colour. And then you wonder, you're looking at a carpet, it's like, why are all those tufts completely bleached out, but then these ones aren't? Because someone has dropped bleach on the carpet, because they're nylon and they're polypropylene. Polypropylene doesn't affect bleach doesn't affect polypropylene, but it absolutely and utterly bleaches the colour out of a nylon. So there was a blended.
So get a few samples and test a few samples.
Get a few samples. Yeah. And so
do you find that in those overseas places like India, that they more predominantly are wool over there? They're not using.
Yeah, they don't use a lot of synthetics. Yeah. And quite often the problems that you can have with them is that the dyes are not necessarily fixed either, because they do everything by hand.
Yes.
So the quality control can sometimes be a little off.
Mm-hmm.
So that can lead to problems once you're going to try and clean them when you're back home again.
Right.
So there's a lot of those sorts of rugs that will bleed colour, and rayon will bleed colour like there's no tomorrow. So that's another one of the issues that you can have with it. It's not just the lignin dyes; it's a natural component of it. It's the colours go into it. You drop a colour onto it. If you've got a nice cream carpet with a red rayon fibre, you have a beautiful red or pink patch now on your carpet.
Oh, wonderful! Even more joy.
Oh, yeah.
So, any top tips for people buying one of these? Is they say, well, look, it's just so silky, so smooth. Give me one or two hints of how I can actually maintain or.
Okay, when it comes to maintaining, do not. I mean, normally I'm a great advocate of using an upright vacuum cleaner. On these rugs, just don't. Okay, suction vacuum cleaner. Every now and again, you might want to take them outside and turn them upside down and give them a good beating from the back, not from the front, because you will see the evidence of the damage. But just try to get some of that impregnated dirt out of it, because that was going to kill your carpet in the long run, or the rug in this case. But yeah, just a good quality suction vacuum cleaner. Make sure the brush is not down on the head, because they normally have two heads in them. Or the brusher will drop down, or just the smooth plate. Make sure it's smooth, otherwise you will catch the fibres and you'll get sprouts coming out all over the place. If you do happen to get it wet, dry it as fast as you can. Even if you get a hairdryer out, it's a small patch, and dry that off as quick as you can. Don't get too close to it, because you don't want to burn it, obviously. But certainly have that warm air blowing over it and try to dry it as fast as you can. The less time it spends wet, the better. Or if you've got one, give me a call. Get that protector. Because that protector will save the rug and give you a much more serviceable rug.
Beautiful. Is it? But obviously, the $1 million question comes up all the time. Is it expensive to get the protector on for a rug.
In relative terms, no.
Yeah.
Compared to the cost of the rug, absolutely not.
No.
Okay, and the other great benefit with it is that it's one application. Your normal protectors, you have to keep on applying them because they wear off, and this one, you put it on there, set and forget.
Really?
So you have a much more durable rug because it won't be affected by UV light, it won't be affected by moisture, it will clean up a lot easier, it won't get as dirty as it normally would just under normal circumstances from trafficking because it repels soil. It has all the benefits going for it. As I said, it's not completely 100%, but I tell you what, if you can get an 80% improvement in the longevity of your carpet from something like that, then why wouldn't you? Especially when you're spending that amount of money on that.
I was going to say, you make, because you're starting to make a bit of an investment if you're looking at that quality of rug. So it's like anything we have, we insure them to the best of our ability. So it's like an insurance policy.
That's right. So I mean, look, your average rug would probably work out at say around about $250 to $500. Which when you're spending $5,000 on a rug, is it such a great impost to you? Yes, it is going to add to the cost, but it really depends on the size of the rug because we have to charge per square metre. Obviously it depends on how much we need to use on it.
But if you're making that sort of investment into a rug,
and you want to keep it long term, absolutely worth its weight in gold.
Wow. So when you treated the yacht, I've got to go back to the yacht. Did you actually treat the yacht? The super yacht?
No, they didn't exist back then.
Oh.
No.
So were you making a phone call?
I'd have to.
I'm afraid I have to just come back on board. It's going to take me all weekend.
Yes. So I'll just work around you while you're sailing around.
And look, I will have a few aides called friends with me.
Are you inviting yourself?
I was thinking. Franco, great show again, fantastic information. Someone's now bought a rug, or even just general carpet advice, but people who's got these $5,000-6,000 rugs, what's the best way of contacting yourself?
Okay. www.facc.com.au. You can find a link on there where you can actually click on that and give me a bit of information and we can get back to you. Or you can get us on email, which is info@facc.com.au. Give us a call, 949 33880. Any one of those ways, or even hit us up on the Fresh Air Carpet Cleaning Facebook page.